guys in a community post to give me your hot take predictions for the 25-26 football season. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, basically, I want your predictions, but I wanted them to be spicy. I wanted them to be controversial opinions. So, thank you to everyone who sent them in, and I'm going to react to yours now and say whether I agree or disagree with them. And we'll come back to this in a year's time and see who was a visionary and who was a fool. And speaking of which, I said we did this last year. It's time to expose some of your predictions and also expose some of you as some visionaries. So we're going to have a look at some of the hot take predictions from last year's post. Now, we have a look. So Luke said Liverpool would win the league in Onslaugh's first season, with Szoboszlai winning Player of the Year. I mean, I think he was actually kind of saying that tongue-in-cheek because he is a Liverpool fan. But I mean, he was right, not about Szoboszlai, but about the slot part. Clem ASMR said Aston Villa are genuine contenders for the title. Yeah, no. Chelsea aren't looking for top four anymore, but consistent. Man City will not win the league, correct. Liverpool will not sign anyone. Okay, I mean, they did sign someone in Chiesa, but that was actually correct. I mean, they didn't really make a big signing. One of the Prem mid-table teams would be relegated. That was wrong. We have Edelgated, who said, but the barge of Mbappe will make the title race go down to the wire. In League 1. Yeah, I mean, it was the complete opposite. PSG almost went invincible last season. We got Red Haven Studios says United finish outside top 4. Teddy actually said United finish outside top 6, so both of them were correct. Lenny said all three newly promoted sides stay up. Absolute horror shout. There was this one which was really good. Volatile Patience said Man City to have a bank average season by their standards, finish third. UCL quarters, knocked out in domestic cups early. Haaland won't win the Golden Boot, and Palace get into Europe. I mean, wow. What a prediction that was. He was completely correct. I believe City did finish third. They didn't even make the quarters of the Champions League. I mean, they did make the FA Cup final, but they didn't win that. Haaland didn't win the Golden Boot, and Palace, they actually got into Europe. So I mean, that is ridiculous. Fair play. We then have Michael Elise Ego would be his downfall at Bayern. Nope. Ipswich beat Liverpool first game of the season, and Havertz has a 20+ scoring season. Horror. Galupa said Newcastle get Champions League again, or at least win a trophy. That was correct. Thomas said no English club would win any major European trophy. That was wrong. Liverpool don't make Champions League. That was horrible. And Maresca sacked. Yeah, horror. Yezuk said Real Madrid's Galacticos will not work out like before, and Barca will win the Champions League. I mean, he was kind of right there, to be honest, besides the Barca part. Garnacho and Mainu win United the Europa League. Well, I mean, they were close. An Italian club would be in the Champions League final. That was correct. Everton go down. Horror shout there. Stuttgart get Champions League for Blegen. No. Milan struggle and scrape Europa League. That was correct. Marseille win the league. Wolves win a trophy next season. Chelsea win the Prem and Carabao Cup. Palace get Conference League by Alexander Colvin, which was actually correct. I mean, technically should have got Europa League, but Bayer Leverkusen defend their Bundesliga title. Tottenham will win a trophy. Hey, fair play. That's a cracking prediction. CB7, no English club gets to Champions League quarterfinals. No. Then there was also this one, which was crazy. Ryan said, forget his first two, but San Marino finally win in Nation League D. And that actually did happen. So, yeah, we had a couple visionaries there, but we had quite a few stinkers. But it's time to react to your ones for this season now. So, let's take a look at what you guys predicted for this season. The first one is sent in from Carlos, who says audible will become one of the world's best in his position under Xabi Alonso. I should also say, because these are hot takes, I'm going to be ranking these based on their spice level. So I'm going to be ranking them using Fernando's spiceometer. So we're going to have plainish take, we're going to have a lemon and herb take, we're going to have a medium take, hot take, and an extra hot take. So to kick off here, I think this is you know what, this is probably hot from Carlos here, because Article had become one of the world's best. Yeah, that's pretty bold considering I don't even know if he's going to be a guaranteed starter, but I don't mind this shout because I do think Article will do pretty well next season at Real Madrid. He definitely has the ability to be world class, but I don't know if he'll get the game time. That's the only problem with that shout, but I don't mind that one. Okay, next up we have Neo, who says, my hot take is that Mbeumo will be the Golden Boot winner. Then the assist and passing range of Bruno and somebody to run onto those chances and make it something happen with them. It will be a big shock to everyone. United will push for the title and I believe everything will click for them. That is extra hot. That is an extra hot take. I mean, the Mbeumo winning the Golden Boot one isn't completely outrageous considering, what, he wasn't that far off it last season, right? I think he got like 20 goals in the league, so that's not completely outrageous, but United to be challenged for the league is crazy shout, and I definitely cannot back that. Look, United will improve next season, but I think the gap, it was so bad last season that they've got to improve a lot, like drastically. And while I think Mbeumo coming in will help them, same with Cunha, the rest of the squad is pretty much the same squad that finished 16th last season. So yeah, I think Mbeumo could do decent, but I don't think he'll win the Golden Boot, and I definitely don't think United are going to be pushing for the title next season, but I do think they'll get better. Next up we have Martin, who says Man City will be right back to the top. This is probably a lemon and herb take, to be honest. I think quite a few people are sort of tipping City to bounce back next season. They were very bad last year, but they've made some really good signings, and I think the thing with City is, right, that they can just click completely. I think some people are maybe overlooking them a little bit, but I think the general consensus is that Man City will be up there challenging again next season. So yeah, I think this will probably happen from Martin, but I just don't think it's such a controversial thing to say. Next up, we do have a controversial one here from Nathan, who says Liverpool win the treble and Salah finally wins his Ballon d'Or. Well, this is extra hot take here, Liverpool winning a treble. Now look, Salah winning the Ballon d'Or is not completely outrageous take. If Liverpool won a treble, he probably will be winning the Ballon d'Or, but Liverpool to win a treble, I don't particularly think that will be happening. I think they could win the league, maybe they could win the Champions League, but a treble is going a little bit too fast, to be honest. You saw last season that Liverpool were in a lot of competitions, and they sort of fell apart in a lot of them because I just don't think they quite have the thinks most of them are for the first team, so I don't really. Their depth hasn't got drastically better. If anything, it's got a little bit worse, losing players like Xiao Kwanzaa, Tyler Morton, maybe Harvey Elliott, Diaz as well. But yeah, I don't think they're winning the treble. Salah, I would also probably not tip to win the Ballon d'Or. I mean, he's probably not going to win it after pulling up the outrageous numbers he put up last season. I don't think he's going to sustain that outrageous numbers. So unless Liverpool win the Champions League, especially with it being a World Cup year too, I don't think he's winning the Ballon d'Or. Next up we have Dylan, who says, Man United do have a complete change in mentality and compete for Champions League football. I would say that's probably a hot take on the spice meter. Now look, this is a lot more reasonable than Neo's take. A complete change in mentality and compete for Champions League football. It's still a little bit of a stretch, I would say. Like I was saying before, United have such a big gap they have to make up that I don't really know. I don't think 2 signings and a pre-season is going to be that difference in terms of bridging that gap, to be honest. Do you think they'll improve? I think they can challenge for top 6, but challenging for Champions League football. When I think about Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, the quality those guys have, I just think they're sort of streets ahead of Man United right now, that it would take one of those to drastically collapse and United to drastically improve for United to be challenging for top 4 next season, so I don't see it happening. Right, we have another Man United one from Kalo this time. Don't know what it is with you guys in United, but Kalo says United will be on the rise again and reach European football and win either the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. Okay, look, the good thing is they're getting a little bit more reasonable as we go along here. So Kalo is now saying they'll challenge for European football, which is much more reasonable, and maybe win a cup. I think that's definitely more achievable for United than challenge for the league or challenge for top 4. I think that's sort of what the aim would be if you're a United fan and from United this season, to try and get into European football again and try and pick up a cup if you can. But I'm going to move on because I've been talking about United for way too much now. Next up we have Matthew, and he says, thankfully it's not a United take. Graham Potter will be one of the first managers sacked. I think this is a little bit of a, I'm going to say lemon and herb take, to be honest, because I think Graham Potter is definitely up there in the sort of sack race, considering that, I mean, he did okay last season when he came in for West Ham, but he really didn't impress. They didn't have a new manager bounce or anything under him. It was pretty underwhelming, and I think the jury is definitely still out on Graham Potter at West Ham. And they haven't really made too many signings. They've lost a lot of players. We know sort of the atmosphere at West Ham with their fans. We also know the board can be very sort of trigger happy in terms of sacking managers. So I do think Graham Potter probably will be one of the first managers to be sacked. But I just don't think that's hugely controversial, but I think it's one of those that probably will happen. Okay, next up we have Easton, who says at least 2, if not all, promoted teams stay up. Brentford and West Ham go down. Yeah, that's extra hot. That's extra hot, I can't lie. Now, I do, what I will say is, I think, maybe I'm going to be completely wrong here, but I think compared to last season, I don't think we're going to get a repeat of that, where the bottom 3 are just so completely bad and the gap is miles clear. I don't think it's going to be that bad this season. I do think the promoted sides have a decent chance of staying up, and I think they'll give it a good fight. I think one of them could stay up, but 2 is a little bit of a stretch in my opinion. And Brentford and West Ham going down, like, I could see a world where one of them maybe does, but I don't think both will go down in my opinion. I think the gap is still very large in from those newly promoted sides to the rest of the league. But I could see potentially one of them. I'm not sure two though. Next up we have Volstar, who says Man City will finish outside of the top 5 this season. Okay, so that's interesting. So we had one of you saying that Man City will be back to the very top, and now we've got one of you saying they're going to be, well, out of the top 5. That's probably a hot take. That's probably hot. And I think it's unlikely, but I'm not actually going to sit here and say, oh, there's absolutely no way, because, well, City were very bad last season. Like, we can't just overlook the fact that they were rubbish last season. Yeah, they had an injury to Rodri, but as a team, their complete system was getting exposed. They did not have a good season. Pretty much every time they came up against a pretty good team, they lost. So yeah, they made some good signings and Rodri's back, but some of those problems, I don't know if they just fix overnight, right? So yeah, there could be a chance City do fall off again, but I would say more than likely they're not going to, and even if they don't go back to the top, I don't think they're going outside of the Champions League spots. Next up we have Hayden. Hayden says Cole Palmer will have 50 plus goal contributions in all comps this year. Yeah, that's a hot take, and I think that's a little bit much. 50. I'm not sure you quite know how much 50 goal contributions is. Like, that is a lot of goals and assists in one season. Maybe, look, I mean, even 40 is very hard, but maybe in all comps he could get to 40 if he has a really good year. I'd say more realistically it's 30 probably for him in all competitions, but I mean, I hope you're right as a Chelsea fan. I do think Cole Palmer will have a good season, or at least I hope he will, but I'm not sure it'll be that good. Next up we have Jay. So Jay says, it's another United one, but he says Man United back in top 10. Not saying they're going to have an amazing season. There's still plenty of work, but with the signing so far, it would be a major disappointment to take anything less. Well, okay, finally a bit of a rationale and reasonability from a United fan here. I mean, it's quite a plainish take, but it's definitely a lot more realistic. Being in the top 10, yeah, they definitely should be in there. And as Jay said, that's sort of the bare minimum expectation is, I think, to be challenging for those European spots. Just because of how bad they were last season, they need to bridge that gap, and yeah, top 10 is definitely achievable and realistic. Next up, we have Jose. So Jose says Arsenal will win the league over Chelsea and Liverpool. So he said quite a few, so we'll break it down one by one. That's quite a plainish take. I mean, Arsenal are definitely in the race, and I can definitely see Arsenal winning the league next season for sure. Man City will choke a lead out of the top 5, out of Champions League. Wow. Interesting. Another person tipping Manchester City to fall out of the Champions League spots. I've already spoken about that, but that's pretty interesting. Guatemala will somehow qualify to the World Cup in the Interconfederation playoffs since their excellent run to the Gold Cup semis. Yeah, I mean, they did very well at the Gold Cup, but I think it would be a little bit of a stretch for them to qualify for the World Cup. North Macedonia take automatic World Cup qualification spot over Belgium. Yeah, again, I don't think that will be happening. And then Mexico, USA and Japan make at least quarters of the World Cup, upsetting some big teams, and Ronaldo wins the World Cup. Alright, so, well, those last few were quite hot takes, but I will say Portugal definitely have a good chance. This is one of their best chances to win the World Cup next year. Considering they just won the Nations League, they've got some really, really good players, a really talented squad, so this is probably Ronaldo's last and best chance to win the World Cup. Mexico, USA, and Japan make at least quarters. I mean, I could definitely see Japan, but I'm not sure about Mexico and particularly the USA, considering how much of a mess they are. Next up, we have Young B, who says your career scores 30 plus in the Prem. Wow, yeah, that's hot, and I don't think will be happening 30 plus just in the Prem. I mean, that would be one of the best debut seasons we've seen in the Premier League. 30 plus goals just in the Prem. Maybe he could do it all comps, and I know he put up those numbers in Portugal, but coming into a new team in a league you've never probably played in before, to put up 30 goals in your first season, I'm not sure he's going to do that. Chelsea will not finish top 6 this season. Absolute hater. Yeah, I mean, that's a very hot take. I mean, maybe we might finish outside the Champions League spots, but I think to finish outside top 6, I'm not sure about that. Atletico Madrid finish higher than either Barca or Madrid. Okay. You know what? I could see this happening. I've actually been really impressed by Atletico's business in the summer. They've made some really smart signings, and I mean, to be fair, they weren't actually that far off the top 2 last season. They just fell apart in the second half of the season. So if they can keep it together for the second half of the season, I think they can definitely challenge Barca and Real Madrid. And PSG repeat as UCL champions, winning another treble. Yeah, I'm not sure I can back that one, to go back-to-back trebles. I mean, maybe they could go back-to-back Champions League, but back-to-back trebles, I mean, that would literally be the greatest team we might have ever seen. They definitely have a chance of going back-to-back in the Champions League, given how dominant they were, but I'm not sure they will. It's quite hard to go back-to-back in the Champions League. Next up, we have SM. Parma is going to be a top 5 Ballon d'Or nominee. I mean, potentially, if we win the league, maybe. Thomas Frank will surprise a lot of people, and I won't be surprised to see Tottenham win another trophy. Yeah, I mean, I think Thomas Frank will do pretty decent at Spurs, so I don't mind it, and Chelsea will overtake Arsenal. Again, potentially, like, I think these are definitely some reasonable ones I could potentially see happening. If Chelsea have a really good season, then yeah, Parma could go into the top 5 Ballon d'Or nominee. And yeah, I definitely think there is a possibility we could challenge and overtake and finish ahead of Arsenal. Next up, we have Kian. So, he has said Madueke will become Arsenal's starting left winger. I don't think so. I wouldn't be shocked. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he was, but I don't think he will. Man United will be in the top 6. I mean, I've sort of discussed that, but yeah, I think they could potentially. A team outside the Big 6 will be in the top 4 at Christmas. Oh, that's interesting. Now, you see, historically that sort of happens, right? Like, it's usually a Villa or a Newcastle or a Nottingham Forest last season. There's always one. But I'm not sure about this season. I do think that Chelsea, City, Arsenal and Liverpool are quite a bit ahead of the others. But, I mean, historically you are correct. Max Dowman will play a lot more than people expect. I'm not sure. I think it would be a lot to ask of a 15-year-old to be chucked into a title race if Arsenal, which are expected to be in a title race this season, it would be a lot for a 15-year-old to be playing a lot of minutes. I reckon he'll play quite a bit in the Cups, but I don't think he'll play a lot in the Prem. And finally he says Liverpool won't be in the top 2. Yeah, that's quite a medium take. As I said, I think Arsenal, City, maybe a Chelsea could potentially be up there in the title race, so I think Liverpool have a good chance of being at least in the top 2, but I wouldn't be completely shocked if maybe Arsenal and City finished ahead of them in the league. Okay, next up we have Luke. So Luke says Dan Ndoye will get 25 plus goals and assists. I mean, that's just absolute nonsense. He's a trash player and he's going to flop at Forest. Victor Gyökeres Forest will score less than 10 Premier League goals, and I mean that is a horrid take there. It's hot. I mean that is an extra hot take, but less than 10 goals in the Prem, that would be an almighty flop. I mean, I would love to see it, but I think surely, given his goal scorer record at Sporting, I'm not saying it's going to come in like the other guy said and score 30 goals, but surely he'll get 10 goals, right? Surely. And Bayern will bottle the Bundesliga to Dortmund on the final day. Okay, that's another extra hot take, which I don't. I mean, I would be shocked if that happened, because I think Bayern Munich are in a very comfortable spot in terms of retaining their Bundesliga title next season. With Luis Diaz coming in, I think that's a really good signing. They haven't really lost, besides Sane and Müller, they haven't really lost any huge players. Dortmund, yeah, they did pretty well last season under Kovac, but I'm not sure they've added enough to challenge for the league. And also, if anything, it'll probably be Dortmund's the one bottling it on the final day, not Bayern. Next up, we have GF. So GF says an underdog will win the Champions League, a team that hasn't won it yet. Oh, okay, that's quite hot. Actually, I don't think it's that hot. I think given the state of play in Europe now, we sort of saw last season that a lot of the big boys have sort of fallen off, and I think that gap has closed between some of the traditional big guys and I guess the smaller clubs. And we did get a first-time winner last season. So I guess a first-time winner, what you're looking at, like an Atletico Madrid, an Arsenal, maybe, well, I guess, have Juventus won a Champions League? They've just won a European Cup, but I don't think they won a Champions League. Yeah, I don't think there will be, but I wouldn't be completely shocked. And Dembele will drop off and get nowhere near his numbers and performances of last season. That's a hot take, but I mean, again, it's not completely outrageous, because it was, sort of out of the blue with Dembele. He's always been a good player, but that was really his first ever seasons where it's all come together. So, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if maybe he falls off or he gets another big injury, as he usually does. Next up, we have CB7, who says my hot take is United will finish bottom half again. Right. It's another United one, but I'm glad that it's not. This time CB7 has gone the other way, and he said they're going bottom half. I mean, that's a hot take. I don't think it will happen. I do think United will improve. And I also would say with that, I think a lot of the teams who finished above them last season will probably fall off and be worse. Like, I'm thinking of Brentford, I'm thinking of Wolves, I'm thinking of West Ham, I'm thinking of Everton. Maybe a Palace, maybe a Forest, I think could potentially drop off a little bit next season. So, but United will get top off. Next up, we have Alessandro, who says Napoli will reach the Champions League semi-finals. I think that's a hot take. It's hot, but I wouldn't. It's not completely out the realms of possibility, right? Napoli are a very good team, but Antonio Conte's record in Europe is absolutely woeful. It's absolutely woeful. Maybe he can prove this season that he can break that, as Alessandro says, but I would be shocked if he did make the semis. Man United get top 5 with Sesko. I mean, I've sort of spoken too much about United. Kenan Yildiz becomes a third best youngster behind Yamal and Doué. I think Yildiz can improve, but I'm not sure he can get to that level. But Real Madrid don't get past round of 16 of the Champions League. That is a very hot take. I don't think will happen unless they get a really hard draw. I do think Real Madrid will improve next season. Under Xabi Alonso, I think he'll do pretty decent with them. They've obviously made some really good signings, so I think they will massively improve next season. I don't think they'll be as bad and get knocked out in around 16 like last time. Next up, we have 6. Newcastle to fall to 7th if they lose Isaac, and Burnley to get the joint points tally with Derby. Wow, extra hot take there. I'm not sure where that Burnley hate has come from. Like, I don't think Burnley are that bad. Burnley were pretty good in the Championship last season. Yeah, they probably will get relegated again, but I don't think they'll be that bad. Like, I certainly think they're better than the Southampton team that came up last season. Yeah, to get the Derby points tally, I think that's a little bit harsh on Burnley. Next up we have Rachel, who says Sunderland will finish higher in the table than Newcastle. I mean, that is extra hot take there. I would be shocked if that happens. I think Sunderland made some really good signings and maybe could stay up, but to finish ahead of Newcastle, I mean, Sunderland would have to get like top half at that point, because I don't think Newcastle are dropping out of the top half. So yeah. Next up we have a Jack, who says Norwich will win the Championship and then fight for a European spot with 3 years. Right, I'm not sure about the last part, but I mean, that's a hot take for Norwich to win the Championship. But I wouldn't be completely shocked if they got promoted. Norwich is sort of always one of those teams who go up and down. Next up we have Scott, who says Arsenal don't finish second, they finish third. I mean, that's a very plainish take. Yeah, they might finish third. I wouldn't be shocked about that. Next up we have Red. So Red says Dembele is not going to have another Ballon d'Or worthy season. Mbappe will have a better season than him. Rodrigo, no matter what, if he stays at Madrid or not, will not be good next season. Another plainish take, I think. Like, we sort of spoke about Dembele before, but yeah, I mean, Mbappe, he was already pretty good last season. I think under Xabi Alonso, in a more functional Real Madrid team, he could potentially do well and outperform Dembele. Next up we have Cozy. So Cozy says, standard of football will be low, players burnt out, coaches not able to experiment with tactics due to financial and executive pressure. It will be a stale season. I would say that's probably a medium take, but I mean, I really hope you're wrong. I actually think it'll be a really good season. I would say last year probably wasn't the greatest of seasons if we're talking like competitiveness amongst all of the leagues in Europe, but I actually think looking at the state of play in Europe right now, I think there's quite a few teams who look pretty good, or at least look better than last season. So, I mean, I hope you're wrong, but I guess we'll find out. Next up we have Sob87. So Sob87 says Bayern and Napoli have crazy UCL runs, with one of them being in the final. Yeah, I mean, we sort of touched on Napoli. The Bayern one, that's probably quite a lemon and herb day, because I mean, it is Bayern Munich. They can easily get to a final. We definitely have the talent to do so, although I probably wouldn't back them to do that right now, considering, you know, I don't think they've had the best of windows, if I'm being honest. Like, they haven't really strengthened up the back too much. They've lost Müller and haven't really replaced him. So yeah, I'm not sure. Rafinha and Dembele will drop off. I mean, we sort of touched on that. Marmoush drops 35 plus GA. That's quite a hot take, because that is a lot. But you know what? I don't think I'll hit 35, but I really like that take in terms of, I do think Omar Marmoush, a lot of people are sort of forgetting about him. In terms of, this guy came into City and instantly, in his first 6 months, was fantastic. He really was, and he's had 6 months to settle in now, a full season at City. I really do think Marmoush could be not like a surprise, but I think he might catch a few people out and really show he's one of the best forwards in the Premier League, so I like that. Chelsea challenge for the league, I hope you're right about that. Mbappe has his best ever season, dropping 50 GA. I mean, yeah, that's definitely possible. He's a fantastic player. And then, yeah, another United one, but let's move on to Sam. So Sam says Arteta will never win either of the big two. He hasn't got the mentality in the big game. Pep couldn't teach him bravery. I'd say, to be honest, that's probably a bit of a medium take nowadays. Like, I think a lot of people are coming to the consensus that Arteta is sort of on his last legs at Arsenal. This is really that season where if they are not winning a trophy, then I think serious questions from the Arsenal fan base are going to be asked of Arteta now. And yeah, we'll see if he can do it. Next up, we have Jay, who says Sunderland and Leeds both stay up. Now, we sort of touched on this about the promoted sides, but he's sort of saying specifically Sunderland and Leeds. I would say they probably have maybe a better chance than Burnley right now, but I don't think both will stay up, maybe one. Okay, next up we have Dalton. So Dalton says, I think Rasmus Højlund will score 20 plus Premier League goals. Wow, that is an extra hot take. And I think that, I don't mean to be rude, but it might be an extra trash hot take, because I don't see a world where Højlund scores 20 plus Premier League goals. In my opinion, I think he maybe could improve if he is the starting striker of United. I expect him to be better than what he was last season, but 20 plus just in the Prem alone as well, that would be some improvement. I don't see that happening. Napoli will reach the Champions League final. Interesting, quite a couple of people now have spoken about Napoli potentially making a Champions League final. I don't know, of course they definitely have the talent to do so, but I'm not sure I can back Conte in Europe to get them to a final. Next up, we have Zenex, and he has gone for quite a lot here, so I'm sort of just going to rattle through these here. So Burnley's defensive record last year will mean nothing and they'll get eaten alive. I think that's a pretty mild take. I think quite a few people will probably expect Burnley to struggle. Granit Xhaka will be injured for a third of the year after costing 20 mil, along with the club's highest wages and bonuses, ready to ride out his paycheck Casemiro style. Now, I will say I honestly had this a little bit in the back of my mind in terms of, I think Granit Xhaka is a great signing for Sunderland, but if it doesn't work out, Sunderland are going to be in a really bad spot because they would have splashed all that money and all those wages on someone who's like 32 years old. If they get relegated, it might be quite hard to ship him, but I do think he'll be alright. I don't think he's washed. The first manager to be set will be Regis Lebris before Christmas. A lot of Sunderland hate from this guy. I'm not sure what he's got against Sunderland, but I mean, yeah, possibly if they start off bad, maybe. Spurs will finish top 4 with Solanke, making the most of the new manager bounce and more practical style of management Frank brings. That's a hot take. Spurs killing top 4. I do think Spurs will improve, but I don't think they're going to get top 4. I will say I think Solanke can improve under Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank has a good record when it comes to attackers and improving them, but I don't think it will be enough to get top 4. Gyökeres will finish the season as Golden Boot winner. Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple sort of things about Gyökeres. I sort of touched on him. Chelsea have a great season. They'll get European football, but it will not be Champions League, Club World Cup hangover. Okay, well, you're just hating here. Man City's fall off will continue to get worse, and FASR will reach 6,900 subs by the end of the season minimum. Well, I hope you're right about that. We're on the road to 4K, by the way, so please help me out. But yeah. Okay, and finally we have ZZZ, who again has given us a bunch to go through here. So Chelsea won't push for the title at any point in the season. Jackson revival, though. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a chance we don't push for the title. I'm not sure about the Jackson revival, though. If he stays at Chelsea, I'm not entirely sure how much game time he's going to get next season with Delap and Pedro there. Liverpool's inability to defend counter-attacks is exposed. Ekadite becomes the next player to be memed because of the amount of chance he misses. That's a hot take. I'm not sure Ekadite is going to be that bad. He's going to be into like the next Darwin Núñez. Arsenal pull away with the league, stumble for a bit, but stay dominant. Norgard gets his plaudits. I like the Norgard thing. I think that's a little bit of an underrated signing people aren't talking about. He's been a bit of an underrated player for a couple years now in the Prem, so I do think he'll start to get his plaudits. As for Arsenal pulling away in the league, I mean, they might win the league, but I'm not sure they're going to completely dominate. West Ham will comfortably survive. Watch out for new signing Diouf on the left wing too. That's a pretty level and herb take. Like, I can see West Ham struggling, but equally I can easily see them comfortably surviving because they have the talent in the squad to do so. Fulham will be in the bottom three for periods. Silva leaves at the end of the season. Now that is a hot take. That is an extra hot take. Fulham in the bottom three. I mean, maybe I could see Marco Silva moving on at the end of the season because he's been there for a while. I don't know, Fulham haven't had an amazing transfer window so far, but I mean, that squad and with Marco Silva, at worst, they have a drop off from last season, but I don't think they're going to be in relegation contenders or anything like that. Foreign leagues, Leverkusen will be just fine, be a respectable team in Europe and comfortably get Champions League football. Malik Tillman announced himself. Pretty lemon and herb take. I think quite a few people have started clowning Den Haag and that, but I think generally most people would assume they're going to be in around like 4th spots. Madrid have another poor but transitional season and lose a game by 3 or more goals due to Alonso's tactics. I could definitely see that happening in terms of Real Madrid still being in transition. Roma cement themselves in the title race. Villa becomes the most wanted goalkeeper in the world. I really like that shout, by the way. I think I'm going to do like a prediction video about each of the European leagues soon, but in Serie A I think a lot of people might be sleeping on Roma. With Gasparini in charge, a fantastic coach, made some really fun signings, and also Miosvila was incredible last season in goal for Roma. If he can continue that, then yeah, I think a lot of people will start talking about him. PSG's depth is exposed. They nearly lose the league under Monaco and won't retain the UCL. Damn. I mean, that is extra hot. I don't think PSG are gonna lose the league or almost lose the league to Monaco. Maybe it'll be a little bit closer than last season, but I don't think they'll lose the league. I'm not sure. Like, I feel like their depth is perfectly fine if being honest. But anyways, that was everyone's hot takes. Thank you very much to everyone who submitted them. We will see as the season begins soon who was right and who was wrong. We'll come back to these at the end of the year, but I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, please do